Not dying in League of Legends is near impossible, but doing this while having a 100 CS lead over your opponent is even more ridiculous. So how is this even possible? What's up, GameLeaper? The Jizz? Oh, back again for a daily upload, and today we are going to learn about the tips and tricks you can apply in your games to play flawless League of Legends. Yes, it does exist, and the result, 0 deaths and 100 CS leads before you can say pro guides. So in this game, Chovy is playing Orianna against a Yone, and in lower elos this might be a very Yone favored matchup, but in Korean Challenger, Chovy is going to show us how to dumpster these melee champions to the point where they will never pick them again. Now look at where he is level 1. How many players position like this? By standing beyond the first wave against a melee champion, you not only give yourself a chance of damaging your opponent, but also a chance of zoning them off the wave and minion experience. But we still have to get the CS, so Chovy runs back into the wave, and you might be thinking, why doesn't he auto attack the Yone here? Well, he would take way too much damage from Yone's wave, so he holds onto his auto attack and tries to Q the Yone instead. He mistimes it, but he last hits these 3 melee minions and pressures Yone for this melee minion. You never ever want your opposite number last hitting for free when you have that range advantage. So Chovy Qs, but again, does not auto attack. Even though these 2 ranged minions don't look that scary, that is damage we don't need to take. The Q is good enough. Now because Yone has his whirlwind at the ready, Chovy does not move up. He gives himself space and time to react to Yone's potential knockup by standing inside his wave and at this distance. Yone knows it's not even worth going for it because of Chovy's positioning, and look at Chovy's movement as soon as Yone's stacks disappear. He immediately runs up looking to fight, knowing this key cooldown is on cooldown. Now if I pause it here, what do you think Yone is looking to do? Well, he wants 21 gold, right? So what do we have to do with the range advantage? Let him have it for free, that's it. I'm joking, you've got to get your head in there. So Chovy Qs and auto attacks, but Jizz, why is it good to auto attack here and not before? Well, the reason for this is that the wave is resetting. So the minions are in a transition period where they are running towards that collision. Because of this, you can look for auto attacks knowing the minions are not already established in the lane and ready to aggro you. Once the minions settle down, Chovy again positions exactly like he did on the first wave, right? Beyond the enemy range minions, and because this is the second wave, he hits level 2, giving him even more motivation to stand so far up. Now Chovy denies 2 of his minions in the process, and the CS lead has already just begun. But in some games, if you were to play like this, the enemy mid laner will cry for help, and the jungler is probably going to gank you. But look at Chovy in this clip. He knows the enemy rumble started at his blue buff, so he positions as far away as possible to that area of the map, and that's all you have to do. Hug the side of the lane that is opposite the enemy jungler. This allows Chovy to isolate the Yone, knowing rumble can never gank him. But some players in Chovy's position right here are going to leave the lane to ward, to roam for whatever reason, and I've seen it so many times in students I've coached, so I know this happens. Do not do it! This gives up all the pressure you have in the lane and lets Yone breathe. In Korean Challenger, there are no oxygen masks, and this is because Chovy escorts his wave into the enemy tower by moving along with his ranged minions, and now the focus is on damaging the Yone when he tries to last hit. Now lots of players get this wrong, and they will be way too keen, so some players might try damage the Yone for this melee minion, but it's close to max range for Chovy and therefore harder to hit. So he simply waits, and when Yone starts to channel his auto attack to last hit this minion, which is closer to Chovy, can you see the difference? He's closer and he is actually static. He is immobile for half a second because he's auto attacking, and that is when Chovy uses his abilities. Obviously it's important to immediately back off so you don't tank the tower, but bang, straight back in there, and Yone legit cannot do anything. He is at your mercy. Because of this playstyle, Chovy is already up 10 CS. Now Rumble suddenly shows on the minimap on this ward, so Chovy keeps hugging the top side of the lane. And what can Rumble do when his mid laner is getting this flocked? Not much. As soon as Yone tries to make something happen, Chovy just stays at auto attack range, and even when Yone has his whirlwind up, Chovy is almost baiting him to use it. He just used his E, which means it should be easy enough to dodge on its own, and Chovy has both his cooldowns ready. So even if he was to get knocked up, he would hard win that trade. Now because the minions are settled in their positions, Chovy knows that positioning parallel to the enemy range minions or even beyond them increases his lead. So that's exactly what he does, and even stops Yone's back, so he has to stay in lane and keep on receiving it. Rumble dies in the fight in the river, and what does this mean for the mid lane? Well, Chovy can stand anywhere he pleases, knowing this is just a 1v1. This is why he stands a lot more centrally, but after Rumble is back on the map, why do you think he still favors the north side of the mid lane here? Well, Lee Sin is top side of the map, and he also has a ward on Rumble's Raptors, so if he does gank mid, he's probably going to walk over Raptors to do it. Playing towards your vision and jungler will help you go deathless. Now, all of this pressure Chovy has been putting on the Yone allows his jungler and support to dive and they pick up a kill. And at this stage of the game, Chovy has a 20 CS lead, and no, we have not paid this Yone to play like this. This is real. Now Chovy returns to mid lane and Yone is missing. Dear God, what do we do here? Well, he shows near the bot lane, and because he is so far away from mid, Chovy shoves this wave. Now one tip to shove as quickly as possible, hit as many minions as possible with your abilities, and by shoving this out, Yone is going to miss all of these blue minions, so the CS lead is getting bigger and bigger. Now Yone gets back to mid in time for the next wave, and Chovy is back to piling on the pressure. When Yone walks up for a CS, he is ready. When Yone has his whirlwind, he backs up a little bit so he doesn't get comboed in tower range, and he has changed his positioning in the mid lane here. So if we look at the map for a second, Lee Sin is now bot side, and if we look towards the enemy raptors and top side of the map, there is zero vision. So standing closer to this unseen threat, thanks Kha'Zix, is a very risky play, which is why Chovy hugs the south side of the mid lane so he can keep up his deathless gameplay. Now when Lee Sin suddenly swings to the north side of the map, where does Chovy move? With him, that's right. So this dependency your positioning has to your jungler's positioning is crucial. Now if we rewind just a little bit, some of you may have spotted it. Why would Chovy hard push this wave? Well, Scuttlecrab is up on the top side of the map, and Chovy wants to attain a clear priority for his jungler. So the more you push, the more priority you have. This means Chovy can move first if a fight breaks out, and Yone has to make a choice. Do I give up close to 200 gold for this wave to help my team, or do I stay for the wave and neglect my team? This also gives Chovy the time to get some vision down, and it's so clean because he doesn't miss anything mid. The minion wave is resetting once he returns, so essentially that roam he just made was for free because he shoved. Now because Lee Sin is topside, he holds the north side and mid, and because there is no real reason to get even more priority, he slow pushes this wave, again standing in line with or beyond the enemy range minions, and Yone again can't do anything. And to be honest, just watching this makes me feel really sorry for this Yone. Now Chovy keeps last hitting the next few waves, he does not hard push at all. Now the downside of this is that none of these waves are going to reset near the Summoner's Rift equator, but the upside is that the enemy champion is forced to CS under their tower and you can just perma harass them. Now towards the end of this sequence, it looks as if Yone is recalling, right? He doesn't show, so Chovy hard pushes the next wave so Yone would lose all these minions, but all of a sudden he appears, and watch what Chovy does. He instantly turns around and goes back to dominating his opponent, and Yone misses all of these range minions. As a result of all this, Chovy has double the CS of the Yone, and this 45 to 50 CS lead is like the same as 3 kills almost. It is ridiculous. Now Yone fakes to recall on this next wave too, so Chovy just hard pushes again and chunks Yone when he tries the last hit. Now this time he really does recall, so Chovy, no surprise here, shoves and needs just a bit more gold to get Ludens and a Tear of the Goddess. This is all at 11 minutes, but what lots of players will do is they will hit this tower without needing the gold for an item or two. So make sure in your games you are getting that 160 gold from the tower plate because you need it for the shopkeeper. Wait, hang on. This must be a glitch. Instead of recalling for those huge items I just talked about, Chovy stays for 2 more waves. He must be trolling me. Now, there are 2 reasons for this, don't worry. The first is that he will miss this whole wave if he recalls because Yone is hard pushing. This is what happens when you stay for turret plates. And more importantly, Chovy's TP is back up in 20 seconds. So what he can do is just stay for a wave or 2 and then TP back, and he does not lose any tempo. In fact, he would gain a lot of time because he doesn't have to run 20 seconds back to lane. And as you can see, Chovy has these items. And if we look at Yone's items, it is night and day. Now this is where not dying becomes impossible for anyone who isn't in Challenger, but I'm going to teach you how they do it because the map is starting to open up and players are moving around the map a lot more. So that's what we have to pay attention to, the map. So in this situation, we see the Gragas bot, so we hug the north side of mid, and then Karma and Varus show on this jungle entrance ward top side. So instead of risking running through this mid brush towards them, Chovy eliminates any risk by running around the danger and chunks the Karma for free. It is only when his team kills the enemy Rumble, he knows he can safely run through this fog of war. Even when Gragas runs up, it's not the scariest sight in the world, but look at this distance he maintains from a possible threat, and that's the point. If there is any sort of chance Chovy can die, he plays safe as. Now he returns to the mid lane, and we've seen this movie before, haven't we? He is back to making Yone's life hell, and then Chovy starts roaming around the map after shoving his minion waves. Remember, this is giving us free time to do so, but what's critical here is communication, so Chovy pinging on his way to the enemy red buff, and a general respect for fog of war. So in this clip, when he rotates back to the mid lane, no one is mid. The only enemy champion we see is Gragas bot side of the map, so can someone be in this pixel brush? Yes. So Chovy checks it and the Nemesis appears. And if you didn't have an ability that could check this brush, you would simply run all the way around. And after collecting this wave, look at the diff. 80 CS at 17 minutes. That's like 4 to 5 kills. Now to get even more of a CS lead in your games, do what Chovy does here. Farm jungle camps on your way to the lane you are going to farm. But once you do farm that side lane, it's so so important to know when to stop. So in this game where Chovy has zero vision towards his top side of the map, pushing past this tri-brush would be very risky, so he simply pushes one wave and then farms elsewhere. But even this clip is different. Chovy's team is right next to him when he moves to the halfway point in the mid lane, and pretty much the entire enemy team are showing on the bot side of the map, so he can shove another wave being 100% safe. And at this 20-minute mark, Chovy's CS lead is so close to 100, it has ballooned that much because of what he's been doing. And if this video gave you an insight to how these top pros play in solo queue, make sure to let the Jizz & Co know by leaving a like down below. Please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and make sure to check out the GameLeap website linked in the description and comment section. The most amazing exclusive league content on the web. Thousands of summoners just like you are frothing it. So sign up, and until tomorrow's daily upload, this has been the Jizz.